Good morning, everyone. Welcome to 1 Million Cups Orlando. We are so glad to have you here at our first Wednesday of every quarter location for 2016. Boy, that's a mouthful. But the National Entrepreneurial Center is a great resource for entrepreneurs in the community, and they have agreed to host us. They provide myriad resources they're going to be telling us about at our mid-break, so I will let them toot their own horn. But first of all, a very grateful thank you for hosting us. Now, the good news is I'm waving at our sponsor, Rollins Entrepreneurial Center, who also is hosting us this morning. So we are in two major locations live streaming at Rollins and here at the NEC. And then, of course, our supporters at Canvas at Catalyst. We want to send a shout out to you because we really appreciate you showing up to support entrepreneurialism in Central Florida. And that's what 1 Million Cups is all about. We are sponsored by the Kauffman Foundation. The Kauffman has these meetings all over the country every Wednesday at 9 a.m. and we get together over cups of coffee to support startups in our community. And I think it's really interesting to share that starting off in January of 2016, our goal is to have 104 businesses present. So out of the 52 weeks that we're here, we want 2 presenters a week. So for those of you who are here, we recruit you immediately into our volunteer group. Please go out and talk to any startups that you know and tell them this is the Guppy Tank for entrepreneurs. This is a great place to come, practice your pitching, launch your brand, preview your Kickstarter campaign, do whatever you need to do to promote your business and receive valuable insight from the experts sitting in our audience who have done this. Now, who's here for the first time? Wow, great. We love that. One of the reasons we decided to kind of start rotating around is so we could bring in new audience members who might not be able to make it to Winter Park. So we're trying to travel around to expand our audience. So it's great to see lots of new guests here. Right. One other thing, we have a new sponsor this morning. It is Bright House Networks, and we are so proud that Bright House has agreed to do a pilot sponsorship program of 1 Million Cups. They're starting here. We're hoping to get them to do it nationwide. And we hope to do a good job. So make sure you go to Bright House's social pages and thank them for being a sponsor here. They're going to be promoting us. We want to give them back the love. So make sure you watch and support everything that they're doing to bring more exposure to the 1 Million Cups Foundation and to the 1 Million Cups work that we do here. And then lastly, let me thank our regular sponsors, Barney's Coffee, who keeps us caffeinated. Pardon me? Winter Park Barney's Coffee. That keeps us caffeinated. We very much appreciate them allowing me to talk this fast at 9 o'clock in the morning, because normally at 9 o'clock in the morning I don't talk this fast. So, and Torch Studios, Randall, who is streaming for us. We so appreciate you. And, of course, our organizers, which we have Jan Alvarado, Stephanie Ford, Isabella Johnson. That's me, Angela Kendall. We also have Kristen in the room and Chad at Rollins, who are new organizers joining our group. We all work for hugs, love, and tweets. Now, without further ado, I'm going to bring up our very first presenter, who is Dan from Millennial Biofuels. Thanks, Dan. Round of applause for Dan.
All right, thank you very much. And good morning, everyone. My name is Dan Crippen, and I am the founding president of Millennial Biofuels, LLC. Do I have a clicker here? All right. Let's just make sure this works. All right. So just to kind of introduce you guys to our idea, we are looking to globalize large-scale production of biodiesel for the purpose of supplementing and eventually replacing the international dependence on harmful and costly fossil fuels. Real simple, lots of words. Put it even simpler, we're looking to grow fuel. We grow fuel, and what we mean by this is not that we go out into a field, we plant seeds, and we harvest liquid fuel. We mean that we're looking to go from 1 facility in year 1 to 60 facilities in year 5. And what inspired me to do this was when I was 13 and when I was 18, I worked with my grandfather every summer in his petroleum distribution repairs and services business. When I was doing this, I had one very pivotal experience for me, and that was cleaning up an oil spill. In a rural town called Pottstown, Pennsylvania, an underground oil tank had burst, and unfortunately the entire town's water supply came from well water. So whether you're a business, whether you're a household, you all got your water from underground. And so that meant that petrofuel was now in everyone's water supply. horribly detrimental to the entire economy, to everybody's livelihood. They had water trucks come in and provide water to the people, and this really started interrupting everything that they were doing. So this made me realize that we needed to get to action and that we really needed to make a difference and that this is a big problem. We need big solutions to tackle it. So what we're doing right now to address this issue is we're actively cold calling people. Obviously, we're on social media, and we are also doing as much face-to-face networking as possible. Some results that we've seen from this, over 3,000 cold leads that we've gotten from Reference USA and other databases, as well as a letter of interest for up to 1 million gallons of biodiesel, and 4 advisors who we did not know previous to this that are now ready and willing to offer their services as soon as we're up and running. Now, the market opportunities that we want to address, the total available market that we recognized in 2012 was $76 billion. These are the biofuel market, the people who recognize that there is an issue and that there are alternatives and they're willing to spend to make it happen. The serviceable available market that we recognized was about $5.6 billion, and that was the direct biodiesel market. Now, when we're looking at what we can actually provide to these people, we're looking in 2020 to reach about 6,700 barrels a day in production. So with a naive forecast of about 68,000 barrels of production total for the entire North America, we're looking to capture about a little bit less than 10% of that. And as far as the USA is concerned, we comprise about 97% of that North American market, unsurprisingly. Now, the problem, clearly stated, fossil fuels. The International Monetary Fund has stated that global governments spend more than $10 million a minute on fossil fuel subsidies in 2015 alone. BP oil spill caused over $40 billion in damage, and that's unfortunately not including damage to irreparable ecosystems and environments. Current solutions in the marketplace are windmill power, obviously geothermal power, and solar power as well, the most popular. When combined with electric vehicles, these do provide a valuable solution, but unfortunately there's a big disconnect here because when people are charging their cars, they don't realize that these are also connected to power plants, which are typically fueled by nuclear or fossil fuels. So the products and services that we're looking to offer to basically reduce this problem is B100 biodiesel. It's a direct substitute for petrodiesel. And unfortunately, it does require some tender love and care of your vehicle if you're putting it into a vehicle that's previously used it. But if you're using it in a new vehicle, it's going to run flawlessly. Contract refining is something else that we are looking to do, and these other products and services that you see grayed out are some versatility options that we have. Some other versatility options that we're considering are things like power generation as well, and also producing other alternative fuels. Our revenue model, very simple. It's a tiered system, and basically what we're looking to do is break everything down to just pennies and cents per unit profit margin. That's really where the money comes from in this area, and this is going to be our main focus, is our B100 biodiesel. We do also have all our calculations done for the contract refining, but unfortunately at this time we do not know the true potential of this in the marketplace. We're looking to work with 3 different feedstocks, waste oil, as well as agricultural oils and algae oils. So, this has a lot of potential in a variety of markets, and we're not 100% which is going to be the best entry for that. We're focused on B100 at the time. So our marketing and growth strategy, obviously need to look to the current leading authorities in the industry, which is the National Biodiesel Board, and they've provided us this great database of over 2,000 contacts to look through. And when we're growing into this field, we do want to grow with a hub-like expansion rate. When we move from one facility, we want to grow into nearby locations. Then we want to grow into 4 nearby locations, and then we want to grow into 8 nearby locations. And so with that, we're going to create a centralized area that's going to slowly and proactively develop its own independence from fossil fuels. One other thing that we're looking to do is we're looking to gain strategic partners, not customers. I apologize for that. Strategic partners, not customers. So that's really going to be people who are looking to supply and deal with us on a regular, reliable basis, not just on a one-off term. Board of advisors, these are the people who have joined on with us to offer their skills. We've got our HR and employee morale person. We've got our IT person. We've got someone who's an expert in biodiesel, currently producing over 500,000 gallons a year in North Carolina. We've got our expert in biodiesel and sustainability. He currently owns a startup assistance and consulting firm, as well as previously owned a biodiesel firm himself. My father, who is a project manager, and he's been doing this, and also retired recently from the Coast Guard, so he's got a lot of management and leadership skills that we're looking to truly tap into as we grow. Another sustainability advisor to just kind of guide us through. He's more professional in solar power, so he's kind of going to help us to realize how we might make ourselves more sustainable. As well as our final person, who is a junior accounting and bookkeeping advisor. Unfortunately, we do not have a CPA on our team at a time or a legal advisor, but these are definitely some positions that we are looking to fill. As far as addressing the competition, the only difference between our expected and our potential market share is that our expected is our expected output demanded. Our potential is our potential output capacity. Very simple. The advantages that we're really looking to tap into are sales price, obviously, since it's a commodity, being the cheapest is going to be the best. But we're also looking to exercise an exponential expansion model, and that's going to set us apart very much from our competitors. Also, just our secret sauce, everybody's got their own thing that they're doing in the biodiesel field. It's very secretive, so we do have our own little mixture that we're trying to use to optimize our results. Now, we also want to strive to get certifications and different accolades in the field. From our competitors, the Renewable Energy Group actually has set up one of these standards and accolades that goes above industry standards. So we want to kind of try to meet that and then potentially even surpass that as we grow. Other competitors in the marketplace are like Archer, Daniels, and Midlands, as well as the Agricultural Production Processing Incorporated. I did want to include our investment slide in here because this is a major area where we are looking for feedback. We have little to no guidance in this area, so definitely, to reach out to you guys and receive your feedback on this would be invaluable. Thank you all for your time, and if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. I apologize if I spoke a little quickly, but I do only have 60 minutes, so I'll be happy to answer any of your questions.
All right, give him a round of applause. Thank you so much. Okay, so now is the part where we have question and answer. We have 20 minutes, so please ask away. He is here to answer.
Who's going to get us started? Well, I will. So what is your background? How did you get into this?
My background is formally marketing, but I realized that I was kind of adept at chemistry when I was in middle school, and I was able to really sleep through the classes while a lot of the people who had 4.0s and things like that were really struggling to maintain just the conceptualized basis of chemistry. So as I realized that I was really skilled in that field, I grew to accommodate it as a personal trait, and now I'm very passionate about biochemistry, and that's really where I lie in this matter. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Okay, I have a question. You have a fantastic team. I really liked your idea, but how are you going to sell? Your marketing or your sales? How are you going to sell to other people? What's your plan?
Thus far, what we've been doing is just the standard selling procedures, reaching out, cold calling, emailing, face-to-face as much as possible. Industry leaders in the field, such as distributors and retailers, wholesalers, as I had pulled up on the database, they're going to be really where we're focused on. And so what we found when we started digging into this, digging into these contacts and our databases and different things like that was that the pricing scale that they're working with is very much dependent upon the quantities that they're purchasing. And so obviously if we're able to provide a cheap enough quantity, cheap enough at a high enough quantity, no matter what, somebody's going to be able to make profit on it. Since we're selling at a $2 a gallon price, it really means that, arbitrage, simply people can tap into it here, bring it over there and sell it for more, as well as our contract refining services being $1 a gallon. That really opens it up to other countries as well as other states and very distant places that may not have a profitable way of producing their own biodiesel.
I'm struck by the thought that you're playing at a very high stakes poker table.
Yes.
And you're going to have to bring some real skill in order to be able to penetrate that market. And I like what your idea, but I hope that you see what's coming in front of you, because there's going to be a lot of competition that's going to be very well heeled.
Oh, yeah.
And you're going to have to differentiate probably even more so than on price.
Yep.
Is B100, is it a direct replacement for diesel products? You mentioned something about the fact that certain engines that have not used it before can run flawlessly, but if they've used something else, there's some tender loving care. What could you elaborate on that, and then I have a follow-up?
Definitely, definitely. And if you don't mind, I want to touch just briefly on your first point. One of the major differences in this startup as opposed to most startups is that this startup has very little traditional startup risk. The demand is there. The entire reason biodiesel is so expensive at this time is because there's too much demand for the supply. And basically what this means is that as we grow, the largest barriers to entry that we're going to face are not going to be regulations. They're not going to be really competition either. It's going to come around year 5 when we're looking at the heavy political environment that's weighed against us. Obviously, fossil fuels are very much involved in DC, and they're really making their best efforts forward to keep out, the competition and keep us down. But what we're looking to do is we're looking to raise awareness that this is a better alternative, and this leads right perfectly into your next question, which was when you do use diesel in a diesel truck prior to biodiesel, what happens is as you use biodiesel, it actually starts flushing out carbon deposits that have built up from the petrol fuel. And so as that happens, if you aren't really knowledgeable with your engine, taking care of it, changing the filters and things like that, then it is going to cause damage to your car. Otherwise, if you do take care of it in that manner, it will end up actually helping to improve the performance of your vehicle.
So does this suggest that it'd be better to pursue like a fleet strategy where you'd be trying to sell to organizations that would exclusively use a B100 product?
That could be argued. Obviously, if you're able to find businesses that are doing that, then that's definitely advantageous. One of the biggest issues with that is convincing people to put biodiesel in their new vehicles. Since fossil fuels are so ingrained in the modern society, they do have a lot of the car companies where if you even put biodiesel in your vehicle, it will void the warranty, which is simply...
Here's a suggestion that I want to release the microphone to another questioner. Where I was going with this is that T. Boone Pickens, the oil man from Texas, one of the things that he did is he pursued a strategy bringing, I think it was LNG, to the market, but LNG had no distribution. So he focused on building a fleet network that concentrated on municipalities. So he would go into major cities and say, we've got a product for your transit system. And so all of the buses could be converted, and the terminals for fueling those or for police forces, those were opportunities to get a foothold into a market where a new fuel source had not previously been available. So if you can't use distribution for diesel, and if you're having problems with manufacturer warranties, and if you're having problems with the conversion of an existing vehicle, then at least look into a fleet strategy and look at what Pickens did and the challenges that he had bringing, I think it was LNG to market.
That sounds like a great opportunity to learn a thing or two from someone else's growth strategy, for sure.
Over here.
Go ahead.
So we have a question from our group over at Rollins College. They're wondering what the 250,000 is going to.
The 250,000 is broken up in basically 2 halves. We're asking for twice what we need to account for the unexpected. I was advised that was the status quo for asking for investment. Otherwise, that's going to be majorly going towards our equipment costs and our property costs. Otherwise, it's just different, costs that electricity, marketing, travel. the various things that come into play with all businesses. Otherwise, the only things that are really particular are that industrial property and the equipment, the turnkey facility that we're looking to purchase for the project. Any other questions? Go ahead.
I'm just always the guy that makes up questions when we get in this place. Looking at a long-term side of it, I always tell people that if you're going to raise money, never raise anything less than $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
This sounds crazy, but it isn't, because one of the most important stages to building a hypergrowth company is you need to have a balance sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Then when you need to raise capital, it looks good. And I could take you down a lot of different avenues with that thought, but going back to this, there's some people I can think of that would be monster bios for you that I'm pretty sure I could attach. But those monster bios are the magnets for the bigger money. You need to be looking at millions to bring those characters in. And if you're going to do that, they're looking for about 2 to 3% ownership in the company. But that's how you buy the bios that brings the money.
Mm-hmm.
So, I could sit here and get into capital development. I like what you're doing and where you're going. I was agreeing wholeheartedly with David on the fleet strategy, and there's some context we could give you that give you every major fleet that there is in the U.S. There's a missing piece that you have, and it's always held by something far bigger than yourself that's already has in its budget you. Isn't it right? Yeah, supply chain, exactly. So anyways, very good presentation, liked it, but I would say that on the team side of it, it's like any kind of a sports team. You always want to be ready to upgrade in a heartbeat and make sure that every member of your team is willing to get out of the way to bring in somebody who can do better on bringing the deliverables they said they could.
Okay. Definitely. I was just hoping to comment on that. Obviously, one of the things with our startup is that this is going to be a one-time fundraising opportunity. We have no expectation to raise further capital in the future, since all of our expansion is going to be self-funded. One of the things that I do acknowledge is that being only $250,000 in startup capital, we don't meet the minimum for a lot of fundraising opportunities. So that does kind of limit our opportunities that we do have available. But, obviously the overall long-run potential is going to speak for itself.
All right, well, that's a perfect wrap-up for us to ask the last question that we always ask of our speakers. What can we, as an organization and as a startup community and as a community of supporters, do for you today?
I would say the best thing that you guys could do for me today is simply leave me your feedback in some way, shape, or form. That's really why I'm here. I'm looking to grow at all points in time. I live by the concept of Kaizen, perpetual growth, always improving, never stopping. So if you want to give me a call, leave me a voicemail, you want to send me an email, reach out to me on Twitter or anything like that, definitely do it. I'm just looking for your feedback. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
So since today is my last day as an organizer, I claim the middle too. So thank you, Dan, very much for your presentation. We really appreciate it. We're going to bring some speakers up for our mid-coffee break. Do feel free to grab some coffee while they're talking, but be respectful and quiet if you would. But before we have our next presenter, I want to welcome, well, I'm not sure which order you guys want to go in, but we'll say Luciana Gibson from the NEC. And then after that, we're going to have Dennis Schaefer from Bright House. And by the way, I have to give an apology to Dennis. I did claim this was going to be a nationwide program. I meant to say statewide. I kind of overpromised on his behalf, so I need to unthrow him out of under the bus. So thanks, Dennis. So Luciana, come on up and tell us about the NEC. Everyone grab a cup of coffee, and then we'll have our next speaker after Dennis shares some more about the Bright House program.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, and thank you for coming to the National Entrepreneur Center. We are delighted to host this event, and what an amazing idea. I can't wait to see what else is up. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about our organization. You may be wondering what we are, who we are, with the 12-foot tree in the lobby. What we are is a business support organization, 1 location, 12 resident organizations, and we coach and train small businesses. Last year alone, we coached over 12,000 small businesses face-to-face. Our shared facility allows professional level access to small businesses as well as our organizations. State-of-the-art training rooms, such as this one, executive conference rooms, and computer labs, free for the public. Our resource partners, the Central Florida Disability Chamber, America's SBDC, UCF, the African American Chamber of Commerce, the U.S. Department of Commercial Services, the Hispanic Chamber, SCORE, the Hispanic Business Initiative Fund, Axion, which is a microlender, the National Association of Women Business Owners, the National Black MBA Association, and the Asian American Chamber of Commerce. The first thing we do is provide low-cost business training. So traditionally, business training can be very expensive in terms of coaching, marketing assistance, social media. We do that at little to no cost to the entrepreneur. Most of our programs are sub $100, usually closer to the $10 to $20, $30 range. We do one-on-one business coaching. So if you run into a specific problem in your organization, if you're having fundraising issues, marketing, we have coaches here every day, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, that can help you work through those. We also have technology resources in our Innovation Center, which is generously funded by Bright House, thank you. In there, we teach QuickBooks, Business Plan. Business Plan Pro is also accessible there if you are in the stage of writing your business plan. Social media courses, marketing courses, and we also have the Reference USA database that the gentleman previously mentioned that he used, so we're happy that that resource is helping you. We also provide networking opportunities through our 12 organizations, as well as events that we put on here, NEC sponsored. This allows you to build relationships across the community, participate in matchmaking events, and also participate in leads groups so you can find your next business opportunity. We leverage our resources. It allows easy access for entrepreneurs, so everything you need to start your business and grow it is under one roof. It allows for synergy between organizations. The SBDC and SCORE can work together, the U.S. Department of Commerce for when you're ready to export, or perhaps a coach if you want to know more about exporting but you're not quite ready. It also lowered the operating costs, so those organizations can redirect their funds towards providing programming for you. Just a couple of our 2015 highlights. We did an economic impact study in 2015 of our activity over the last more than a decade, 13 years, and we found that for every dollar invested in this facility, 14 is returned to the community. We also were awarded a state grant, which allowed us to put in all this phenomenal technology, webcast live to the world as you're currently utilizing. And we went to the White House to discuss the Trans-Pacific Partnership, executive board retreats, our outreach campaign. We have over 60,000 engaged Facebook followers. And our small business event, which is actually coming up again, February 11th, 360 attendees last year, small businesses that were able to access a high-level business seminar at no cost. And of course, we couldn't do any of this without our sponsors. Take a minute before you leave, and please look at the wall outside and thank those people. Give them your business, because without them, this would not be here. And one of them is here today. Thank you so much, Dennis. Phenomenal. Bright House has funded our Innovation Center, and time again, always comes to the bat to help small business. So please thank our sponsors whenever you see them in the community. That's our information, where to find us online. And of course, the last question that I always want to ask is, how can we help you? So if you have any ideas on how we can improve or the kinds of resources that small business needs today, please feel free to let us know, because we're here to grow with you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Luciana. All right, Dennis, you're up. And we're so excited for Dennis to announce our new program.
No pressure, right? After following her, right? Good morning. Hope everybody's having a good day. Looks like a lot of people remembered that it was here today instead of Rollins, but I know we have some folks over at Rollins today too. Bright House Business Solutions is excited to be a sponsor of 1 Million Cups and doing a pilot program with them to help the entrepreneurs and provide awareness for the folks that do the pitching. One of the things I found in working with the different, whether it be out of Canvas or whether it be a UCF or USF, is that it's a challenge getting folks to get up and want to pitch at these meetups and at the 1 Million Cups. And so we want to provide some type of incentive because Bright House Business Solutions, we're all about entrepreneurship. We want to do what we can, both through funding as well as awareness, to help drive the economic impact, because successful businesses today are really driving the world tomorrow. With that being said, we're implementing a pilot program starting today. If you missed it on your way in, there's a table out there, is one piece of it. But the important piece is that each month we're going to take a look at all the wonderful people that are taking the time to present and pitch their companies, and we're going to have a spotlight company. And the Bright House social media team, made up of Brian Weber and his staff, are going to use the Bright House avenues to go and post all of that and promote that company and the services and what it does, that we can get that awareness out there. We're hoping that'll drive, to Angela's point, get that 104 pitchers up here this year, right? Because again, we know it's a challenge and some folks are hesitant to get up and want to pitch. So we're doing that, number one. Number two, just given the questions here today, right, I think that's the most important part of every pitch. It's an aha moment for some, right? It's a confirmation moment for some. But to get people here to ask those questions, right? So the other piece of that program we're doing is, as you leave, there's cards outside the door. Pick up one of those cards. Basically go home, log in. It's a chance to win a mini iPad. We're going to give one away a month, right? So we encourage you to come back, register each week, and hopefully go home at the end of the day, at the end of January, with a mini iPad. But again, thank you to 1 Million Cups for allowing us the opportunity to sponsor this pilot program and work with you guys. Anthony Hardy, who I'll ask to raise your hand, he's going to be Bright House's main contact at these events. You'll see him on a regular basis, as well as myself. And look forward to working with you guys in the future, and look forward to some more successful pitches, starting with the next one. Thank you.
Thank you, Bright House. Thank you, Dennis. So just to let everyone know, we're going to run a little long today because we've had so many exciting things going on, and it's the first of the year, so we're going to let that happen because we want to make sure that Carolyn gets all the time. Carolyn, I'm going to bring you up, but I want to say that I think Treasure Box Kids and the presenters that we've had today represent one of the things that's so unique about 1 Million Cups, which is we are entrepreneurially agnostic. Did that come out well? Meaning you don't have to be a software company. You don't have to be a particular kind of organization. You don't have to be. We want to welcome entrepreneurs who are doing things across the spectrum of startup. And I think that gives lots of people an opportunity that might be a little overwhelmed by all the technology things that are going on. So I really am excited to introduce Treasure Box Kids because they are doing something innovative in children's clothing. So Carolyn, come on up and tell us more about what you do. Everybody welcome Carolyn.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Carolyn Bailey, and I am the founder of Treasure Box Kids. Treasure Box Kids is a subcontract manufacturer of children's clothing located right here in Central Florida. We are ethically made, we have the highest quality standards, and we are socially responsible with our Made in the USA line of girls' clothing. My design experience actually began in my childhood. I grew up in a rural New England town that only had 2,000 people and 3 businesses. I was lucky enough to grow up across the street from one of those businesses, which was a fabric store and studio named Wayside Fabrics. As a child, I spent all of my time over at Wayside Fabrics watching the woman who owned the business. She taught me quality clothing construction and how to source fabrics and how to choose their quality. It was really there that I really had my basics and my foundations for running Treasure Box Kids. I was lucky enough, I was lucky enough over the break to be able to reunite with Diane. We got together, and I was able to thank her for being such an awesome mentor to me and such an inspiration to me as a child. So I'm here in part today to discuss what's new with Treasure Box Kids. Treasure Box Kids is announcing a new line of children's clothing that is coming out and being ethically made and manufactured in Kenya. The name of the line will be Little Maisha. So why did we decide to manufacture in Kenya? We decided to manufacture in Kenya for one reason: human trafficking. Human trafficking statistics are horrific. 20,000 Kenyan children are trafficked annually in Kenya. There's 40 to 60% unemployment in Kenya, and Kenya is deemed a Tier 2 source, transit, and destination country for human trafficking. What that really means is that the U.S. State Department has determined that the Kenyan government does little to nothing to protect their people against human traffickers. The two ways to actually combat human trafficking are employment and education. Once I really learned about human trafficking, I learned that Treasure Box Kids could actually make a difference. If people are developed economically and are educated, they're less likely to become victims of human traffickers. The creation of the Little Maisha line will do just that. It will economically develop Kenyan women. The women who sew the line will be actually former victims of human trafficking or women who are trying to send their children to school in Kenya. In Kenya, primary education is free. However, the books, the supplies, the uniforms, and the state fees are not. Most people are unable to send their children to school to be educated in Kenya, and that's one of the reasons why there's such a large problem. We decided to name the line Little Maisha because Maisha means life in Swahili. And so our little clothes are changing lives in Kenya. We have partnered with two fantastic nonprofits in order to make this project happen in Kenya. The first is Fashion Hope, and the second is the Tembo Trading Education Project, and that's located in Kenya. Fashion Hope is a bridge between designers and manufacturers that want to ethically manufacture their brands and who will employ former victims of human trafficking as well as women who want to have a difference in their lives. The Tembo Trading Education Project is a wonderful organization in Kenya. They've been there for 10 years building schools. They have wonderful success stories, but they also understand that economic development is really a key part of preventing people from becoming victims. So what they are doing is they will actually directly place these women in need into jobs sewing our line so that they can begin to survive and then thrive. We will actually be able to practice direct trade in Kenya, which is a step above fair trade. We will have direct access to the production house. We will be able to interview the women whenever we want, and we will be able to make sure that they're being paid a fair wage and that they're being treated ethically and responsibly. The children's clothing business is a $10 billion industry. We will distribute this line through the online seller marketplaces that we have already established great relationships with. We will also roll out the line on our .com as well as offer the line on a wholesale basis. We additionally will get the word out through online marketing campaigns and targeted social media marketing and ad campaigns. Treasure Box Kids has an advisory board. It's made up of key business advisors and industry professionals. We are also a UCF incubator client, and we are actually working on increasing our advisory board at this moment. The real reason why I'm here is that we are rolling out an Indiegogo campaign for this line. We are launching on January 11th, which is National Human Trafficking Day, and we'll be launching this campaign during National Human Trafficking Month, which is January. The campaign ends on February 12th, and our goal for the line for this campaign is to raise $20,000. That small amount of money will actually allow us to start manufacturing in Kenya. The future direction for Treasure Box Kids is that I want to bring this all together. I am partnering with another woman named Gina Van Epps to open an Orlando production house here to help former victims in the United States. We will be able to run the Treasure Box Kids USA line through that production house, And we will also be able to teach and represent other designers if they want to either run their line through the United States or run their line through Kenya. We will employ former victims of human trafficking as well as domestic abuse victims, and we will also pair them with skilled labor so that they can learn. But everything begins with the Little Maisha campaign. So we do have needs, like most companies, and what we really need is your support. We need you to spread the word about our campaign. If you have access to journalists, we would love to have a referral and have you explain what we're trying to do to them. We do have some press coverage that's coming up for the campaign. We've been featured in the Orange Appeal magazine, and we also are doing some radio broadcast. And Channel 13 is going to be doing a story on us on January 13th. We do need sewing equipment and supplies for the Orlando production house, and we do need computer equipment for both the production house and for our admin offices in Orlando. We have put together a social media pack that you can have that has graphics for all the different social media platforms as well as text, so it'll make it very easy for you to spread the word about the campaign. All you have to do is cut and paste and help us spread the word. It's been an honor to present here this morning. I want to thank everyone, and let me know if you would like a social media pack. Please give me your business cards. We've also put cards on the table that have our information and a link to the campaign. Thank you very much. Do you want me to take the podium?
Sure.
Okay.
So you can actually answer them in. Here
Okay.
we go.
Where's the other? Oh, there it is. All right, who has our first question? All righty.
I was waiting to see if anybody else wanted to go first. Very, very impressed, profoundly so, with what you're doing. So I congratulate you on that. I had just really a couple of observations. The crowdfunding campaign for $20,000 seems a little low for the potential that you have. And so, you know, my advice, I'm not asking you to change that, but really deeply consider whether that's enough to do what you're capable of doing.
It's the bottom line number. And for strategy reasons, that's the reason why it's being introduced at $20,000. To have the campaign become more successful at that level will psychologically affect donors. And so we are not hoping that the campaign only makes $20,000. It's just our beginning point for the campaign. It's the least amount of money that it will take to begin to manufacture in Kenya.
Okay, and then I had two other quick points.
Okay.
You were talking about how you would distribute, and I saw online primarily. I also saw Sears. But my observation has been clothing in general is usually purchased at retail stores.
Yes.
And perhaps for kids, you know, sizing isn't as important as it would be in adults. But have you thought about a retail strategy and a specialty store that would cater to kids, perhaps even high-end, upscale, where the sustainability and the ethically made would appeal to a buyer that would be willing to pay a premium price?
Most definitely. I have great experience with the online seller marketplaces. The price point for the Little Maisha line will fit directly with that particular price point that works very well online. We also will be able to sell, you know, within the fair trade industry and in fair trade shops. The wholesale distribution part of that will be for the retail stores because you will need to sell the line wholesale to them. So that is factored in there, but we'll immediately launch the clothing online with our online partners.
And now I'm channeling Don Ward here, but I'm thinking way out of the box. I don't know that there is a connection to this, but what occurred to me is a group like the Junior League or an organization that could get behind this and really support it in the community beyond social media, but across networks of moms in particular to get the word out that you're doing this in Orlando might help you not only with crowdfunding, but also with early sales.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have to ask the question, do you know Jan Edwards?
No, I do not.
I would love to connect you to her because she is one of our entrepreneurs. You guys would get along wonderfully and do great business.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hi. Oh, wait.
For the streaming as well, yeah. We just need.
Good morning. My name is Rupert Magnot from Burnout Game Ventures, and I will tell you right now that if I came to the game community here in Orlando, which is thriving, that they would jump all over this like nothing else. So we're not in a position right now, but let's talk in the future about possibly doing some training and setting up game development in Kenya as well.
Oh, wonderful,
Okay.
wonderful. Great, thank you. Good morning, Don.
I'm trying to remember what one of your needs was because I had the answer to the need, but I don't remember what the need was. So you can give that to me again in a second.
Okay.
How are you with your contacts in Kenya? Because I've got two that would be critical for you, and it would tie into economic development that they're doing there. It's Global Hope Network International.
Okay.
And Mary Johnston, who I connected to Jan Edwards. Jan got to speak in Geneva, Switzerland because of my connection to Mary.
Okay.
And so there's a lot there. There's a bishop that I'm actually mentoring right now that's there. And we're talking every day. And they're looking for things right now, too. His personal home just got broken into on Christmas Day. And everything was taken. So, I mean, over there, they're looking for things for economic development. But
They are. They definitely are. And my two representatives from Tempo Trading Education Project will be on the ground in Kenya in early January. And they're going to be spreading the word about this campaign as well, because ever since the trade agreement was signed with Barack Obama, they have been trying to increase their trade with the United States. And so she's going to be bringing this campaign to government officials to try to get their support for it as well, so that they can help economically develop Kenya.
Mm-hmm. Good. Well, since we had met, I told you there's somebody else that popped in my head. They were triggered when you showed your needs. Do you have the needs page that?
Yes, I just don't have the clicker. Oh, there it is. I do. Right there.
Palm Tree Computers. They have a ministry, and they take in trade from all the large corporations their computers, and they refresh them, and they give them out to nonprofits.
Oh, wonderful.
You need to get a hold of them. They're in Oviedo.
Okay, that would be a wonderful contact. Thank you.
So I have a question/comment for you, because you're talking about journalists and getting exposure.
Yes.
I think you've got a lot of different resources that you're tapping and a lot of messages going on. So what I might recommend is that you create one very strong, targeted corporate social responsibility message. So how what you're doing in Kenya ties back to this community, and then spread that message, because that will get you more media coverage. I mean, perfect example is what Rupert is doing in games development, working with the industry at whole in Orlando. He's bringing what he's doing privately back to the community. So I think that that's a good tip for you, and tap into those women's resources like the junior. Find a group that will advocate on your behalf. That's going to get you the kind of journalism exposure that you want, because you're making news happen. You're not just telling people about how great your product is. You're actually executing activities. So I would glom onto that and really focus that. So that'd be my recommendation for you.
Wonderful.
And I know there are lots of resources that come into this room that can help you do that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Are you connected with Florida Abolitionists?
Actually, yes. I'm going to, my membership applications in, and I'm just waiting to be approved to be on the Greater Orlando Human Task Force.
Okay, but you're having conversations with them at some level?
Yes,
Okay.
and I'm actually going to be presenting, we will have two booths actually at their January 23rd event at Lake Eola. Because January 23rd is Orlando's Human Trafficking Day.
That just seems like such a natural partner for you, so.
Definitely, and we'll be part of the vocational rehab part of that task force.
Carolyn, what hashtags can we use to help trend you?
Hashtag human trafficking is always prevalent for me, because that's really right at the source of the issue. We have developed hashtags that we're trying to trend: Little Clothes Changing Lives, Little Maisha, and Treasure TBK for Treasure Box Kids. But it's really ethical manufacturing, hashtag ethical manufacturing, and human trafficking that really kind of brings this to the forefront of those organizations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
More questions? Don?
just while I'm thinking of it, because if I speak it, it'll get fresh in my mind, and you'll be able to remind me I said it.
Okay.
Marcia Reese runs an organization called Moms Again, which is for those people that they thought they were done raising kids until they had to raise their kids.
Okay.
And she started Channel 6. So she is a journalist. She is a woman in a position that knows a lot of people in position in Orlando.
Okay.
So Marcia Reese, just, you can go, there was a woman you mentioned, I'll remember her.
Okay. Thank you very much, Don.
Just a thought on the fundraising. Basically, I think that one point to do is pre-sell.
Yes.
I know in a world of tech investments, typically when I worked in an incubator, we actually had the partner at a VC firm would actually, already the investment's already been agreed to, but once people, go online on Indiegogo and see that, oh wow,
Right.
this partner is investing, it creates more like an avalanche effect. So.
Thank you so much for mentioning that, because I forgot to mention the rewards for the campaign. We actually, all of those outfits that you saw flashing up on the screen under the little Maisha logo are all rewards that will be offered during the campaign. And I designed this infinity scarf to sell also during the campaign. This will be at the $25 reward level, and this will be, in case you don't have a child and you want to support the campaign, then you can buy the infinity scarf as well. Thank you for mentioning that to me.
And then a second point that I kind of thought of, are you familiar with a company called Li and Feng?
I'm sorry?
Company called Li and Feng.
No, I'm not.
They have a pretty interesting business model that, might want to look into. So one thing that they do, they specialize in specialized items. They would go find a vendor in Italy who treats leather like nobody's business.
Okay.
And long story short, they cater, it's a multi-billion-dollar company, and they cater all the top Italian brands.
Okay.
Everybody, basically all Chanel, et cetera, subcontract through Li and Feng.
Oh, that's wonderful. Could I get that contact information from you afterwards?
Yeah, I'll tell
Okay.
you there, yep.
Thank you very much.
We have a question from Rollins.
Yeah, it's a suggestion/question. It says here, your project seems like it would benefit from assembling a board of advisors comprised of individuals with relevant skills and reach. Have you considered this?
Could they explain a little bit more what they mean by that? Relevant to?
Yeah,
Sorry. I can tell you what type of people are on my advisory board now, to answer that question. We do have industry professionals in manufacturing of children's clothing, in wholesaling of children's clothing. I have key social media advisors. And so without really understanding exactly what their question meant, it's a little hard to answer it. But we are actually looking for more advisors for our board, and we're concentrating more in the marketing department right now.
Question here.
Quick question. What is the link between the factory in Kenya and the factory that you hope to open in the States here?
Great question. The link will be my experience with working with Kenya. When we open that production house, we'll be able to increase the amount of designers that are actually working through Kenya. If they want to manufacture here, that's all well and good and great, and we'll definitely work with them. But if they want to manufacture overseas due to price points, then we are going to be able to create more designers that are able to actually work with Kenya. It is not the easiest thing to work with another country. You have to deal with their cultures and their differences in how they do business. The experience that I'm gaining working with Kenya will be very good for other designers coming aboard. Sometimes designers don't have the business background, to go along with their business. They understand how to design and make nice clothing, but they don't understand how to market it or how to work with the factory. So that's where we'll be able to come in and really make a difference, either here or in Kenya, and tie the whole thing together. So we'll be able to increase Kenya, we'll be able to increase what we manufacture locally here in Orlando, which is almost nothing now, and we'll be able to, help both sides. Because we do have a very large problem with human trafficking right here in Central Florida.
And another quick question. Are you going to be manufacturing the same items in the States and in Kenya, or are they going to be two
No.
different lines of items?
No, they are two different distinct lines. The USA line is more of a higher quality line. It's a little bit more of a luxurious line. Our dresses from the USA line, for example, are lined in satin. So anything that is touching her skin is completely soft and wonderful. The Kenyan line will be a little bit more moderate. It'll be a little bit more moderately priced, therefore able to actually distribute much easier on the online seller marketplaces.
So I have another kind of journalistic or PR suggestion for you that I thought of when someone said something. Have you pitched like the design reality shows?
No, not yet.
Okay, so obviously that's on your radar, but I would definitely start maybe with some regional design competitions. They're always looking for a story around what that competition show is.
Okay.
And I think if you could get one of them to partner with one of your, sewers in Kenya to show them, and there's just all sorts of story that you could create there. Do it on a small scale with maybe some blogging or some small competition, and then go and pitch to, God, I can't think of the name of it, but the Heidi Klum one, Project Runway, yeah.
Yes.
Those kinds of things. So just a suggestion to keep on your radar.
Okay. Yeah, we've actually been doing a lot of the developmental stage for the past year. We first started working with Nepal until they had the earthquake in Nepal, and unfortunately they lost their infrastructure and they lost their ability to produce any garments for a while. We then switched over to Kenya to try to work with Kenya, and so there has been, I would say, even a larger amount of work that's had to be done to get the Kenyan factory ready to produce a U.S. line. What they're producing now is mostly for Europe, and there is different set of standards that we want in the United States than is wanted elsewhere in the world. So we spent a great time developing that. So now that we've done that and we know how to work with Kenya and we know how to make it happen, we're now ready to start talking about it.
Is there something?
Did we receive the message from Rollins? Did they text back anything? No, they didn't?
There wasn't.
All right.
A return text. Okay, so we are at the end of our program, and we again would like to thank the National Entrepreneur Center for being able to be here. We also want to thank Bright House for the opportunity to partner with them. This is really awesome. It's a two-for-one home run for Bright House because they support the NAC, and they're also supporting 1 Million Cups. We'd like to thank our presenters, Treasure Box Kids and Millennial Biofuels. And then lastly, we also want to make sure that we acknowledge Barney's Coffee as one of our other sponsors and Torch Studios for live streaming us now. And this is the most important part. I had that one too. We want to say that we are really going to miss Angela. She has contributed so much. She is going on to another bigger and better venture, and we just... Oh, bigger, definitely more profitable and bigger than organizing, right. So anyway, we just love you so very much, and we're going to miss you greatly, so.
Yes, we do.
And so in our last 30 minutes, we have networking time. So please come up, ask the presenters questions, and be sure to exchange cards and talk to one another. We're all here to support each other. Thank you.
1 Million Cups is a weekly educational program developed by the Kauffman Foundation.
Over the years, we've added more cities. Creates a great energy here to see what's happening across the country.
What I've learned from other entrepreneurs is very, very valuable.
Sitting in a room with other people that have ideas too, it helps people to leave thinking, you know what, my idea is worth something. It's worth pursuing. It's worth going after it. Even if it looks like a challenge, I should still go out and try to do it.